I found the peer review in our first workshop to be extremely helpful. There were global comments and suggestions offered to me by my peers that I gladly returned in the spirit of constructive criticism, ultimately leading to the best paper that they could write. But what are global comments? I will admit this is a concept that I was unfamiliar with in the duration of my high school English classes. In simple terms, global comments refer to feedback given to the students that focus on the big picture of the paper. That means that we are pushing our peer review boundaries well past the correct usage of there, they are versus there for possession. For a rare moment in English class, grammar and sentence flow are pushed aside for bigger issues. For example, during my peer review with Jesse Simpson and Luke, we discussed some broad topics to my paper which would ultimately help me to make a transition from my rough draft to a final product. We discussed how to trim the fat on my paper, or in other words, to boil it down, sorry for all the food puns, to the main point and thesis of my essay. In reference to my thesis, it was nowhere to be found. I still needed to develop a thesis and plant it at the end of my first or second paragraph. My classmate Jesse offered advice to me on how to trim the fat by going through my essay and picking my best 3 paragraphs. We discovered that my meme was a reoccurring name in my best 3 paragraphs, and therefore she needed to be made more of a central focal point. These comments really helped me to focus on writing strategies that I've often struggled with in the past. In response to my peers, I offered suggestions for a stronger thesis, told them to pick their best 3 paragraphs as well, and to try and avoid telling instead of showing through their writing. These were important suggestions because they were more complex than grammar comments. Now, there were many important feedback and discussion points that weren't captured on the page that came up during our discussion. For example, Luke, Jesse, and I all discussed our strong family connections that we felt pertain to these favorite meals. Luke's family is very similar to mine. His grandparents' house is filled with Hummels at Christmas time. His family is very religious, and he is part of a long heritage of nurses. While this discussion was very helpful, there are some comments that I definitely wish had come up in looking over my peer review. I wish we had discussed MLA format and if my paper had fit the correct format, as well as looked into my interview with my meme for more depth, in order to pick the best quotes that I could possibly use in my paper. However, I found this peer review to be overall very helpful through all the global comments that were made and the comments that we did discuss, and I look forward to the next.